This video presentation of the 2014 Property Management Summit is brought to you by More Restoration. Whether you are a property manager, facilities manager, or property owner, More Restoration Incorporated proudly offers you the highest quality and up-to-date services in emergency or disaster-related care.
We are a sponsor-supported organization. So I so appreciate every single company that believes in what we're doing and invests in what we're doing. I couldn't do this every single month without you guys. So I definitely want to recognize all of our sponsors, Amerimar, Accurate Tax Management, CBRE, Skyline Property Group, ICBR, Regis, and then More Restoration is actually going to be our video sponsor for today. So this is on videotape. Our website is going to be going live soon, and Invention Pictures is also one of our sponsors, and they're going to be recording this. And I'm going to give Shelley Hendricks with More Restoration a minute to come up and tell you what they do.
I knew I forgot something. That was the hat.
Thank you. Thank you, Connie. In the effort to bring a little holiday cheer, I present to you More Restoration's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I'm very nervous, so please forgive me. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and unfortunately through the house, water was soaking our belongings, including my boots, the TV, our desk, and even my blouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care. After finding our belongings ruined, we called More Restoration to be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while More Restoration's team planned to work the whole night ahead. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my wrap settled our brains knowing we called the restoration guys the Colts call, and they were there in a snap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, it was More Restoration's trucks with equipment, dehues, and ladders. Away to the window I flew like a flash. That's when More Restoration said they would save me some cash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to the many air movers below. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but more water technician, hoses, and 8 tiny water meters. Oh, I'm shaking. I thought there'd be a podium to hold on to. Okay. More rapid than eagles, their courses they came. I can't hold this.
You want me to hold it for you? You got it?
Oh, thank you. More rapid than eagles, their courses they came, as they yelled and shouted and called them by name. Now Jeffrey, now Blake, now Andy and Tony, now Amanda, now Jim, now Kara and Scotty. From the corner of the basement to the edge of the kitchen and hall, now restore away, restore away, restore away all. But I heard them exclaim as they drove out of sight, thanks for calling More Restoration, Merry Christmas, and to all a good night. Thank you. No, I'm good now. More Restoration is happy to be a part of this event and to support these very successful property management panel. On behalf of Kenny Cochran, present here today, our president, and all of our team here at More Restoration, we wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and the best in 2015. Thanks.
Thank you, Shelley. That was the most entertaining 60-second commercial we've ever had. One thing I almost forgot, is Michelle Steele in here? Amerimar wants to give away a couple of Colts tickets, and we wanted to be sure that everybody got their card in the bowl. Michelle, do you want to pass the bowl? I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. So, Jerry, you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Connie. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. My name is Jerry Collins, president and owner of Flaherty & Collins Properties. We have a development company, a construction company, and a management company. We are 100% multifamily, although we do some mixed-use developments with some retail in it. We manage about 16,000 apartment units in 6 states and about 400 employees.
Matt Anderson with Duke Realty. I'm the senior property manager on the office side for Duke. I've been with Duke about 15 years, started in Minneapolis for 5, Chicago for 2, and I've been down here for about 8 years now. We have about 2.5 million square feet of office here. It's about 93% leased, and just over 20 million square feet of industrial property here. That's about 97% leased. So things are going well. We're busy.
I'm Jeff Reynolds. I'm with CBRE, the largest real estate company in the world. I have been at the Chase Tower as the general manager for 10 years and in real estate for 20. I'm a graduate of Butler University. Go Dogs. And been through 5 owners in the last 10 years at the same building.
Good morning. My name's Renee Breitbach. I'm with Amerimar. I'm the general manager at 101 West Ohio Street in downtown Indianapolis. Amerimar is a privately owned, family-run real estate business based in Philadelphia, and we have office, hotel, and multifamily in very eclectic locations based on our owner's whim.
I'm Brady Clements. I'm with Skyline Property Group. We're a property management company. We have just under 1 million square feet of property that we manage. I'm president and owner of the company. Have a number of dedicated employees. We do property management. We do leasing. We do construction, and then a number of the services that support property management as well.
And last but not least, I'm Denise Prawl. I'm the owner of Accurate Tax Management, where we do nothing with taxes. What we work on is real estate and personal property work. So we've been in business for 17 years. We like to say we take the pain out of property taxes for people. So we had a great conference call with this group last week, so I'm hoping that we can take some of those things that we talked about, because I believe someone referred it to as therapy, that we should probably have one for property managers every month, because it was so good to get together and know that they weren't the only ones having the same struggles. So I'm hoping to convey some of that great call with all of our panelists here today. So let's start with Matt. Matt, you work in the industrial arena.
I do.
And you talked a lot about the challenges that you're facing with those new e-commerce big box warehouses that are coming into our market. So could you share a little bit about that with us?
Sure. I think one of the things that's been exciting about the Indianapolis market on the industrial side is the e-commerce fulfillment distribution type users that are coming to town. So from a developer standpoint, you need to take into account where these big boxes are going to be within a park. You need to take into account the ingress, egress, the number of employees, the truck traffic, employee use. All those things are times 3 compared to the typical distribution facilities that we're all used to dealing with in the past. So it's a bit of a different animal. So we're all trying to wrap our arms around that, I think, and there's a lot to take into consideration when looking at those users.
So let's move on to Brady. You work on the retail end. And we were talking about some of the challenges that you face are those triple net costs. So can you share with us a little bit? On our conference call, you were talking about how you have to find that balance of whether the investment is worth it or not. Can you share a little bit with us about that?
Sure. I mean, one of the things that we focus on is trying to be partners with our tenants as a property management company. We feel strongly that we have a fiduciary responsibility to the client when we spend money. A lot of times it's the tenants look at it. Snow removal. Everybody wants snow removal, but nobody wants to pay for snow removal. So there's you guys don't have that, right? Is that just our companies? But we're trying to constantly find a balance of what we need to do to continually allow our clients to attract customers in so that they can be successful. Because if they're not successful, we're not successful. So we're constantly trying to find ways of reducing costs. We're looking at snow removal last year was at an all-time high. So throughout the year, we were able to absorb that cost throughout by cutting services in other areas, and so we're trying to find ways that we can cut those services without making appreciable differences in the property, so that the clients don't see the property decline, and so that they're not harmed.
Thank you. Renee and Jeff, you work in the downtown market, which is a different animal for sure. So you were talking about some of the things that attract tenants to sign leases with you and re-sign leases with you were amenities. And we had quite an interesting conversation about all the different types of amenities that you have, the ones that they say they want, but they don't use, and then some others that are becoming more important to them, such as dealing with bicycles. So, Renee, could you start off by talking about how amenities affects what you're doing?
Absolutely. What we're finding these days is you have to sort of duplicate what everyone else is doing. For instance, Jeff and I have very different sized buildings and populations, but we have almost the same list of amenities. The typical restaurant, hair salon, nail salon, massage therapist, shoe shine, dry cleaning, things like that. Fitness centers have become a huge draw for the millennials, although interestingly enough, they don't necessarily use them, but you have to have it in order to attract them. And so we are just constantly struggling. I had a conversation this morning about some of the other fun activities that we provide, like Santa, visits with Santa. We have the tenants bring their children in, and we're just constantly trying to be creative to allow people to expand on their experience at the office because everyone is so crunched for time these days.
Jeff, how about you with your property?
We one-upped Renee. We have a men's clothing store, so if you rip your pants, you can get your pants repaired during the day. We also have a connection to the Columbia Club, which a lot of our executives that sign leases take their clients to have a sit-down white tablecloth lunch. But amenities are huge. With the workforce 24/7, with a lot of the large accounting firms and financial firms, people are working all times, all days, all nights. We see the lights on in the building, and I go through and tell security to go turn them all off, and they're like, people are in there. Yeah, people are in there. Why don't they go to sleep? But the nice thing is we have the amenities for the people. They can go in and they can use them, and it makes for a great environment for our customers to hire and employ the best people.
So we also discussed, despite the fact that they don't use the fitness centers, even though they want them, bicycling has become something that is very big, particularly in the downtown area. People are bicycling to work, and they have very expensive bicycles, and so they don't want to just attach them to a bike rack. So, Renee, can you share with us how you've creatively dealt with that?
Well, we're fortunate our loading dock is right next to our front door, and so we can easily buzz people in and out of the loading dock. And we had to create a bike room in the basement because otherwise, I know Jeff said he's got people trekking through the lobby with their $3,000 bicycles, and then they take them up to their office. Yes.
Yeah, the attorney was riding his bicycle in the lobby.
And none of us were surprised by the way that was an attorney. No, we've actually watched bicycles being cut off the bike racks right outside the building in the middle of the daytime, and I do recognize the investment that people put into those bikes sometimes, and so we have a room in the basement, and they can bring them in and lock their baby up and get back down there, in the evening and know it's still going to be there.
And Jeff, aside from having people ride through your lobby, how else do you deal with bicycles?
We do a very similar deal. We do allow our tenants to take them up to their suites and their offices. They use the service elevator, and we just accommodate the use. And it's really hard to tell somebody that it's got a $3,000 bicycle that they've got to go chain it to a normal bike rack that's set in a parking garage, and then come out to find that it's gone. We also have an interesting bike locker system, and they're stackable boxes that you can put 2 bikes in on either side, and they're too high, and we lease those out to our tenants through our parking garage. So it's been a nice amenity for folks with the expensive bicycles.
Thank you. So let's move on to multifamily housing. So, Jerry, you were also talking to us about amenities that are necessary to attract tenants to your properties. Could you share a little bit about what's going on with the amenities in your area?
Sure. Probably the best amenity, we just are in the process of opening Axis downtown, 336 units with the Marsh store below it, and that is by far the best amenity. You can go get on an elevator, go down. It opens into the Marsh lobby. So you've got Marsh open from 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. And so anything you need is right below you. Our amenities are getting larger. The amenity space is getting larger, and the units are getting smaller. So we have bike rooms as well, and we have a place in there where the residents can, there's an air pump, there's a place to work on their bicycles. Pets are very big in all of our properties, so we have a pet wash at every property. We have pet concierge where you can, we'll walk your pets for you if you want. Seems crazy, but lots and lots of people have pets, and it's a good source of income for us. All the amenity space is 24/7, so you access it with a fob. So fitness areas are getting bigger. We just opened a property in Fishers this week that has fitness on demand. So you can go in and do any kind of workout you want to do. More gathering spaces within the amenity area, so you can come down. Everything's Wi-Fi, so you can come down as a group. Outdoor kitchens, lots of outdoor grills, outdoor fireplaces, multiple fireplaces, fire pits. Pools are shallow, but you can put the change lounges in the pool and hang out. At Axis, we're going to have a sky bar on top of the building. At Market Square, we're going to have like a sky bar at the very top of the building, and then we'll have a Whole Foods below us there. Same setup. You can get off the elevator, go right into Whole Foods. But the amenities, it's kind of the sky's the limit. I started in this business in the late 70s. I think I'm the oldest one here. It's kind of funny because if you wait around long enough, your property type will become the preferred type. So we finally made it. Multifamily finally got there.
Well, I can't let you get by without telling the Chicago story.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. We developed a property on a metro line in Chicago, which is also we look for development opportunities to be on light rail or on any place close to a light rail. So this one's actually, you walk out and get right on the metro line, go downtown. So we have a lot of pets there. It's 295 units, and we actually do, and we do this at all the new properties. We DNA test the dogs when they come in. So we take a swab out of the dog's mouth, and if the owner doesn't clean up after the dog, unfortunately our groundsman can go out and you take a sample. It's about the size of a dime, and so we test that. It's like a dime. We send it off. We get it back the next day, and it serves more of a deterrent than anything, because people are like, "Are you really gonna?" We said, "Yeah, we're really gonna do this," but we take pictures of the pets as well, and we'll send them birthday cards on the pet's birthday. So people are crazy about their pets, but that one is pretty interesting.
Jeff, I think we're in trouble if we're going to try to keep up with the Joneses on these amenities.
No dogs allowed, except service pets.
Thanks for sharing that. Just had to make sure that everybody heard that. I thought that was really interesting on our call last week. So let's turn to technology. So several of you were talking about a couple different ways that technology comes into play for you. One of those ways is how you're using technology perhaps to save money and save costs. And the other way speaks again to those amenities of the things that you have to be able to provide to your tenants in order to stay up with the other competition. So I'm just going to open this up to the whole panel and talk a little bit about how technology is affecting what you do these days.
I think in the office and industrial properties, some of the lighting fixtures is becoming a hot button topic. You know, we've got some parking garages. You can really save some money if you go to the more updated LED type fixtures. We get a return. If there's a rebate, we'll get a return in under 2 years, typically on an investment like that. So that's a no-brainer. Regarding amenities, you know, even out in the suburbs, we're trying to keep up with you guys downtown. So it's walking paths, fitness centers, food service. We've got Wi-Fi in a lot of our first floor atriums. We have a concierge service that services a couple of our larger parks as well. So the amenities is a real issue that's out there.
I just want to, I don't know if we have any utility companies in the, or if my utility company is in the room, so I apologize for telling this story, but With respect to the lighting retrofit, we just redid our garage, and within 1 month's time, the utility company was out taking apart the meter to see if something was wrong with it because we were utilizing so much less electricity.
That's great.
I mean, from a retail standpoint, we're kind of low tech. It used to be, dusk to dawn sensors came out where it was like, hey, let the lights go. Let them go all night. Makes the center look great, security, et cetera. As the recession hit and everybody became more cost conscious, we really focused in on putting timers in, and it does require us to adjust them periodically because as we mentioned earlier, the days are getting longer again. But we noticed a significant reduction in our utility costs, which is obviously a cost that the tenants have to bear, which if they're not paying that, they can pay for flowers and various things like that to try to upgrade the center. So we're constantly looking at ways like that through utility savings.
Are any of you finding that you have to upgrade to attract tenants to your building? Jerry, did you talk a little bit about the types of, people want Wi-Fi everywhere, they want cell phone access everywhere. So are there any things in particular that you're doing to make sure that that's always happening?
The property I mentioned in Chicago, it's a concrete construction, and interestingly enough, we were getting ready to open, and our cell coverage was terrible in the building. And so we put some boosters in. That wasn't good enough. So we hooked up with a national company, and we had to boost the signal throughout the property because we have mostly millennials, and then we also have a lot of baby boomers, particularly in that property. It's about 50% millennials and 50% baby boomers that have sold their homes or want to be part of the action and have all these amenities. And if you can't use your cell phone in your apartment, it's a death wish. So it costs us a lot of money to do that, but it was well worth it. And then we have started going to LED and in the garages we're building. Our amenity space is 24/7, so we have a software program that turns the lights down to about 40% when people aren't in there. There's occupancy sensors. We do the same in the common hallways. There are occupancy sensors. Energy cost, as we all know, is a huge cost. But the other thing that is nice when the TVs are all set on certain channels, people cannot go turn on rap stations indiscriminately. So it all resets every night. It resets itself at midnight. So when the employees come in the morning, the TVs are all on, the lights are all on in the model units, the office is lit up, and we're ready for business. And the property manager can control that from their smartphone.
Anybody else want to comment on technology? All right, let's move on. We've talked about expenses. Let's talk about the revenue part. A lot of you were talking about what was going on with rates, and it's interesting how much it's varying among the different types of properties. So, Brady, would you like to talk about how are you doing with your rents?
We do retail, we do office, and we do industrial, and we're seeing rents increasing in retail. We're seeing moderate increases in industrial. In office, I'm experiencing basically flat line. There's just a lot of product out there. Where retail, I mean, we're filling up. Everybody's filling up. It seems to be a supply and demand type of thing, and we're certainly. I'm experiencing us at least keeping up with inflation or better.
Renee, how about you? What are you seeing with your rents?
While we've had fluctuations over the years, we're basically flat from when we bought the building 15 years ago. We're still at 20% or higher vacancy rates downtown, and unfortunately, we just trade back and forth.
Jeff?
The Chase Tower traded hands 5 times in 10 years. Equity Office was the original owner. Then it was sold to an Australian REIT. After going through a stint from an Australian REIT, from Macquarie, which is the largest financial institution in Australia, they sold out to Charter Hall, who's the largest real estate company in Australia. Their shareholders didn't like that and didn't like the fact that they were an American, weren't seeing the returns that they wanted. So the Charter Hall then sold to Beacon. Beacon then rolled it to RMR. And then RMR, which became Commonwealth REIT, They had an issue with shareholders, and the shareholders entered in with a new board of directors. So we've seen a lot of fluctuation, and through all of those different ownership changes, we have seen our rates really get pushed hard and really get pushed between 2010 and 2012. And then we're starting to see some softening of that. I think with the foreclosure and the buildings coming out of foreclosure in downtown, we're going to see some good competition. And I think that that's going to be a benefit for the tenants, and I think a benefit long-term for the owners and those of us that are that have the great amenity bases and have been around and take care of our tenants. I think we're going to really see a continued effort to see those rates increase in the long term. I think we're all looking for the long-term gain, not necessarily the short-term gain.
Thank you. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we're in a pretty good position now. We're able to push rents a little bit. We're really trying to get bumps as we do our leases, add value that way. On the industrial side, like I said, we're pretty well occupied. In office and industrial, it can come down to the actual space that we're marketing. Some spaces you just don't have issues releasing them, so there's not a whole lot of point in reducing the rent. Some you'll get a little bit more aggressive on. So, but overall, we're in a position where we're starting to be able to bump them a little bit.
Jerry, what's going on with multifamily rates?
Rents are rising. We opened Cosmopolitan on the Canal in 2009 at $1.30, and for some reason, multifamily does per square foot per month rather than per year. And we're opening Cosmo at $1.80 just across the street. So. And we own about 25% of the properties we manage. We fee manage the rest. And we're seeing rents going up both in B and C properties as well.
Thank you. So back to our downtown office people. One of the things we talked about last week was we were curious about whether space planning is becoming a big issue. A lot of people are tending to go away from those traditional closed-door offices and looking more for that group setting where people can bring their laptops out and work together. So are you finding that to be a trend, or is that pretty much staying the same in your building? So Renee, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone. Our 1980s office buildings aren't necessarily the most attractive product to the millennial group, and they really want to be in cool space with open ceilings and loft-type environments. In order for us to accomplish that in a 1980s office building with drop ceilings and drywall partitions, it's probably twice the cost of what we would consider a normal build-out, and so it's really been a challenge. But yes, we've got some good designers in town that we work with, and we're working to we literally just open up the space using new furniture product, and find that all of the groups now want more collaborative space. Much fewer offices, a lot more conference centers, open even kitchens, lounges, where you'll find lounge chairs and TVs just right out in the middle of their office space.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, we're finding the Fortune 500 companies, specifically the financial groups as well as the accounting firms, are going to the new wave space, wide open, Wi-Fi everywhere, very modern. Different ceiling heights, different ceiling textures, trying to get rid of the standard drop ceiling. We've got one group that just finished a build out, and they have a group of treadmill desks. So somebody can be working on their computer and walking on the treadmill. So it's pretty interesting and pretty neat. Most of the law firms, this is a challenge to law firms, are still in their standard 15 by 10 offices along the perimeter, their partner offices and associate offices. So it'd be interesting to see if those groups start to change.
Thank you. So we're getting close to question and answer time. So I told you that our call, everybody said it was like a therapy call for them. And Brady, I told you I might call on you to do this. But managing your properties means keeping them looking attractive. And so you have some pretty interesting trash stories. Could you share some of those with us?
Okay. John, you're laughing. You've done retail. I mean, yeah, we pick up all kinds of things. I mean, we find undergarments. We find we had human waste the other day that we had to dispose of, and we didn't have DNA either. So there was no idea who that was. But yeah, I mean, our clients require us to provide a product to them that they can invite their customers into, and you know, one of the things that we have to do, we have with our company, we handpick most of our trash. So I've got people at properties sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week, and we're handpicking trash. We get sofas, we get people's pets that have passed away. We get mattresses and every form of. I mean, people are just disgusting. Is that enough? Can I be done? Can I go on forever? I could go on forever. People are disgusting for the most part.
That is not unique to a property type. We have.
Do you DNA test
Yeah,
humans
no, we
as
don't
well, or no?
But we have our cameras in a lot of our garages, and it always amazes me. People will just get out of their car and just out come the McDonald's and Burger King. They just dump their stuff in the parking lot, and we go pick it up, and then we send them a letter or go talk to them. But it just amazes me. And the same thing, our dumpsters fill up with, you know, couches and beds and all that stuff. So I think it's not unique to any property type.
Well, Jerry, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Certainly, what we find too is we have to keep those trash receptacles up along the curb empty. I guess my wife's not here, but she would tell you my car is my trash bin. I keep it that way, and then, you know, periodically she comes or somebody comes and cleans it up. But yeah, people just empty it. Now, if our trash bins up along the building are empty, I mean, there's a lot of people that will go ahead and carry it up there. When they get up there, if it's full, it goes right on the curb, and as the wind comes, it ends up going throughout the property. And we found that, you know, picking it up once in a bag is a lot more cost effective than picking it up 36 times through the parking lot.
Well, once in a while you will find the source of the issue. Let's say, you know, up in Parkwood, we've had instances where we've had folks relieving themselves in parking garages, and it happens. So we'll set up, you know, little mini cameras, and we've caught people doing it. So we'll take that footage, you know, we'll have the maintenance tech identify who this person is and what employer they work for. So I've had a sit-down meeting with an HR director saying, you know, here's the proof, and it's amazing what these companies will let their employees get away with before they terminate them. It's unbelievable. It's just an HR nightmare, you know, from their point of view. But from a property management point of view, you know, the conversation then turns to, well, next time it happens, you know, I'll give you a call and you can, you know, head on over there because, you know, our guys aren't going to clean up after this individual anymore. So it's amazing. It's something new every day.
I think trash. How many people are actually in property management here? Okay, so all of us that started out, and I think anytime you're out inspecting a property, you've got somebody working for you, and I'm sure we all do it. If I see a piece of trash, I pick it up. And if somebody that works with us doesn't pick it up, that's not a very good indication. But I mean, we spend more time picking up trash. I see people nodding their heads. But it's just, I think it's an indication of care too, so.
I mean, Jerry, unfortunately, one of our mottos in our company, I mean, you'd think customer comes first or something like that. Trash is everybody's business. I mean, my employees are nodding their head. Trash is everybody's job. You get out of your truck, you pick up trash.
Renee, Jeff, you have any war stories you want to share with us?
On the way over here this morning, I had to pick up a wine bottle out of the out of the flower pot, and I had about a half a block between me and the next city trash can, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I see no one that I know.
I got a good picture of that, Renee. That'll be circulating later.
It's on Facebook. I saw it earlier, yeah.
7 o'clock in the morning.
Anything you want to share with us, Jeff? Or no, you're just going to keep it quiet?
No, they cannot be divulged.
Well, I wanted to end with that because they did talk about how it's nice to get together and share those war stories because a lot of you that are in property management definitely have the same issues. So we wanted to make sure today that we made it relatable to all of you as well. So Connie, I'll turn it over to you for questions.
All right, do we have any questions from the audience?
I would like to get some ideas of how to cut down the electrical costs from retrofitting to whatever they could be doing. My name is Kay Branson. I have my own property management company.
Anybody on the panel?
You know what, we typically will start with our electrical contractors and then get the service providers involved. If we let them know this is the property, this is the goal. We have an energy manager at Duke as well, so we'll get into a room and discuss, you know, peak and demand and what can we do at the fixture level, what can we do at the automation level, that type of thing. So I would get with a good electrical contractor and I would get with the service provider.
Any other questions? Yep.
Do all the elevators in your buildings have cameras?
Wouldn't
And I
you
wonder
like to
about
know?
that because I'm always like, you know,
We can't
doing
talk
weird
about
stuff
that.
in elevators and going, wow.
That's private property. Yes and no. Yeah, at the Chase Tower, we have cameras in certain elevators.
Certain, but not all. Okay. So you just have to always be on your best behavior.
We do not on our properties.
You know, cameras are an interesting thing. I mean, from a retail standpoint, we were pushed. It seems like with the advent of the cameras, everybody was wanting a camera at all of our properties. And, you know, we have found with working with our insurance company that, I mean, it's great that you guys are able to tell who's peeing in the parking garage. But from a retail standpoint, we have a camera on a building. I can't tell who's breaking into the car. And we don't want to provide a false sense of security to our tenants. So we don't put any of the signs up, the fake signs. We have cameras, blah blah blah. First of all, it doesn't deter anybody. They know you can't see who they are out in the middle of the parking lot either. It doesn't really relate exactly to your question about elevators, but from a camera standpoint, I don't think the technology exists to help in a retail environment.
Any other questions?
Kind of for the whole group at large, I do an extensive amount of tenant rep in multi-state region, including Mid-South as well as Midwest. And in Indiana, I'm finding that at one point in time, we were competitive from a tax basis, property tax basis, and for years it seems like it took taxes to get above $1, $1.15, $1.25. Now I'm seeing $6 a square foot for retail space, which is primarily what I do, in taxes alone. And my tenants are looking at rent as rent, whether it's amenities, CAM, insurance. Insurance has remained flat for, seems 20 years. CAM has adjusted, but not adjusted extensively. But the one thing that seems to be going through the roof with no end in sight are property taxes. And I understand that as a property management group, you can't control that, but at some point in time, my tenants are looking at it as rent and therefore going to somewhat cap your ability to charge rent because of the escalating taxes. And I just wondered if there's any, I don't see anyone out there addressing that, but now Indiana property taxes, I do deals in Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and now Indiana's property taxes are right up there with the best of them.
From the property tax perspective, yeah, we've seen them increase considerably from 2006 when the reassessment and the whole 1%, 2%, 1%, 2%, 3% process based on the assessed value. Ultimately, get a hold of your legislator. Number 2, hire a good tax attorney. Number 3, be glad you don't live in Minneapolis. Minneapolis is at $12 to $13 a square foot for their real estate taxes. So from the perspective, we've seen an increase, but I think from a people perspective, from population, the population is reaping the benefits. They've seen, we as people have seen a decrease in our property taxes. I think ultimately the relief that we'll see from a business perspective will come in the valuation of property and how those properties will potentially decrease in the assessed value versus the actual value and the way in which that's calculated.
And if I can give a plug, I was just say if I can give a plug to Denise, I mean that's her business, Accurate Tax Management, to look into. I don't know if that's something that you want to borrow my.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry, Brady.
No, you're good.
Commercial taxes in Indiana have increased, and there's a couple different reasons for that. One is they initiated annual trending. Used to be we just had increases when they did reassessment. Reassessment used to happen every 7 to 10 years. And then once the tax caps started to go into place, they have done annual trending, which means they review the assessed value every single year and can adjust it up and down. I've never seen it adjusted down, but they can adjust it up and down. The tax caps also had a big effect. It's taken a few years for particularly Marion County, but some of the other counties to hit that 3% tax cap. So that's had a big impact on it as well. And then finally, because they have tax caps, the only way they can increase revenue in their budgets is to increase assessments. So it's always a good idea to review those assessed values because they are going to continue to come up because that is their source of revenue now.
I mean, Keith, thanks for the question. I think it's really, as real estate professionals, Keith makes a great point. I mean, if somebody can afford $5,000 a month, frankly, it's great that as a property manager, we break it down and tell them what rent is and what CAM is and what taxes are. But, you know, they can only afford $5,000 a month, period. So at some point, these problems really are pushed back to us. And I remember when the assessments were taking place, and I spoke with state legislators, senators, representatives, mayors, and I went through the cap rate model with them, and I just remember sitting down with them thinking, these guys aren't real bright. They don't understand what I'm talking about. And if there's any people in government, I would say I apologize, but I really don't. So I sat down with them, and then after the model went through, I realized they're smarter than I am. They're getting the money on the increases. They're getting the money on the revenue that we're having to charge our tenants, that they're having to charge their tenants. They're getting increased sales taxes, et cetera. And so what I decided to do is we're still working through the legislators, but we're hiring professionals. We hire professionals at every one of our properties. We appeal. We've had a number of very successful appeals. And those dollars are real. We recently went through a reassessment on one of our office buildings, and we had a 40% reduction, and that goes right into our tenants' pockets after we pay the professionals to get that reduced. But you know, the one thing we're doing is we're trying to educate our clients because you know in retail especially, I mean, all of you guys. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't think about multifamily. You guys have to be dying as well. We're explaining to our clients, you know, all these people are out here going, rah, rah, we got this huge tax reduction, but then they go out and get their hair cut, and they're paying more because I'm charging them more. They go out and get, their nails done. They're paying more because I'm charging them more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Really, the government's the only one that's winning, and we have to educate the public that they're the losers, not the winners.
Try having your property sell twice in the same year.
Sure.
I'll tell you too, it's important to understand your property card. You know, you want to make sure that you're competitive within the market and that your properties are being assessed and valued correctly. I'll tell you, you know, when I came down from Chicago, we dug into the property taxes. They were taxing a couple of our garages as if they were office buildings. You know, and those garages don't have any value if they stood alone. So, you know, we got those drastically reduced. I'll tell you on the industrial side, if you have a piece of ground, make sure you're farming it. Make sure you have that ag status. You know, we've got a lot of farming going on within Duke. You'll see next to the Firestone building, next to One West, we have been farming that for a few years now. They wouldn't give us a developer discount rate. They said you actually have to be farming it to go to the ag status. So we brought a farmer in. Our taxes went from north of $100,000 to about $900 a year. So you got to make sure you understand how those things are being valued.
You're right. There are a lot of strategies to that, and our taxing system is a mass appraisal system. So they just lump everybody together, and that is what the appeal process is for: is to get you an individual assessment on each property. So it does pay to look at those property record cards. We've found some crazy things, just like you were talking about, and there are some strategies like the ag land that you can use to reduce those taxes as well.
Yeah, Brady made a good point. I think it applies to all of us. And people pay their rent. We have discussions with lenders, and we say we're at $1.80 a foot or whatever. People don't care about that. What do I write the check for? every month. And so we have to be diligent in watching all of our expenses. But at the end of the day, it's got to make sense to the resident that they're getting value for that rent payment they're making to you. I do think we're fortunate. We manage in other cities. Cincinnati, Minneapolis is a good example. Taxes there are just crazy comparatively. Chicago is very bad. So the tax caps have had benefit for us. You can predict where your taxes are going to be. I think that's a good thing. And then I think you just have to really understand what you're paying for.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. Let's give our panelists a big hand. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it, and we hope to see you next month. All right.
This video presentation was brought to you by More Restoration. For more information on More Restoration services, visit our website.